Good morning. Good morning. I am just pulling up the affirmations and the journal prompts to grab one. And when you get here, make sure you say hello. And that way we can have a bigger chat. Sorry, I was distracted trying to grab this out of my notes. All right. So I'm excited to be here this morning, and it's interesting. I woke up early this morning, and part of it's because my adult daughter, lives with me, or we are roommates, and she obviously had to get up a lot earlier for work this morning. So I could hear her moving around. I could smell her cooking breakfast, and I'm thinking, "What time is it?" And I look, and it's like 5:30, and it was like, I don't really want to get up at 5:30. So I snuggled back under the covers, and I couldn't go back to sleep. And all the different thoughts about all the things that I wanted to do today were running through my head. So finally at 6 o'clock, I said, all right, I'm going to go ahead and get up. And of course, the cats were very confused because it was like they wanted to eat, but they weren't sure because that I don't usually feed them till 7. And so it was just a very different morning, but I really enjoyed getting up earlier because I got a lot done. But the interesting thing is because we are so creatures of habit, and you that know me know that I am definitely a creature of habit. That's why on Wednesdays, a lot of times I end up going live when Terry's supposed to be going live. I need to check with her and make sure she's still planning on going live tomorrow so that I can make sure I put something on my screen that says it will be Terry today, and I won't do it. um, anyway, what ended up happening was I got a lot of things done, but then one of the things that I do every single morning is I sit down and do my reading. And I got so involved with doing all these different things. I was even, I recorded a podcast yesterday evening. And so I was putting all the stuff together and getting it ready. And I have another podcast that's in the queue. And so I was working on that stuff, and it is so much fun to get all these things aligned that I haven't done my reading yet. So I am planning on, after I get off here, before I start my work day, that I will have time to do my reading. And so that is the main thing that is very important to me, is that I get my reading in every morning, and then I sit down and do a little bit of reading at night. And I shared yesterday, I think it was yesterday. Was it yesterday? Yes. A little bit about how I've started reading a lot of books, and creating things out of that, more knowledge, and all these different things. And it's amazing. And it does end up taking me a little bit longer to read a book, but man, oh man, the content actually speaks to me in a different way. And so I'm really enjoying it. Every now and then I think, oh, I just want to finish the book. And I think, no, why is that? Why do I just want to finish the book? Why don't I want to get as much knowledge out of the book as possible? So then I'll think, okay, I do want to get as much out of the book as possible. So then I slow back down, give myself permission to take the time to highlight and put things in my own words, put my sticky note in there. And so it actually forces me to slow down a little bit and retain more of the information. So if you're not sure what I'm talking about, make sure you go back and watch Monday's live, where I talk a little bit about that. All right. And for those of you who are watching somewhere else, because this does feed out to several different places since I'm using StreamYard, if you're not familiar, where I originate all of my work from is the Make Lasting Change group. And so, if you like these things that I talk about during the week, then you would definitely love being part of the group and the community, because the Monday thing that I'm just talked about is exclusively for the group. So, you have to be part of the group to get the Monday live. And so, all you have to do to join the group, if you want to discover a little bit more, is go to vickypoole.com, VICKIEPOOLE.com. And then you'll be prompted with some questions, and make sure you answer all the questions, because there are some people in the queue right now that are wanting to be in the group, but they haven't answered the questions. So I have sent them messages and said, we don't allow anybody into the group that has not answered the questions. So if you really want to be in the group, go back and answer the questions. And when I do that, sometimes people go in and they answer the questions. And then I know that their purpose of being in the group is to learn and to grow and have community. Those that don't do that, I don't really know why, unless they're just wanting to see out of curiosity, or they're wanting to sell something. I don't know why they want to be part of the group. However, in order to be part of the group, you have to answer the questions, and then I let you in, and you can gather the content, because there's recordings in there. There's a lot going on, and more all the time. I'm going to have some more guests showing up in the group. I've got some in the pipeline that I'm talking to, and so it's going to be an amazing place, and I would love for you to join us. All right, so this morning I am talking about our affirmation and our journal prompts. I'm going to go ahead and share the affirmation with you. All right, so the affirmation is, I am a magnet for positive relationships. And I will say there's been times in my life, especially when it came to romantic relationships, I certainly did not feel like a magnet for positive relationships. And I know there's times in our lives that we sometimes think, oh my gosh, why does this keep happening to me? Why do I keep attracting these people that are not good for me? And why do I have friends that aren't good for me? So let's look at what our relationships are. And I've talked many times before about what's going on inside of us, in our heart and in our mind, is reflected in our outer environment. So if you find that you're attracting people that are not good to you, you're probably in some way not good to yourself. And so in order to be the magnet for positive relationships, you've got to have a positive relationship with yourself, because that's where it starts. Remember the old thing, when you're on a plane and the plane starts going down, or something happens and the oxygen mask come out, you put the oxygen mask on you first, because the lack of oxygen, if you're trying to help someone else, you can pass out from the lack of oxygen because you're not taking care of you. Then they might get help, and then they might not, because then you might both perish, because you cannot function properly without your oxygen. And so we do that. We put the mask on ourselves so that then we can effectively be more able to help those around us. And so it all starts with us. So I invite you, as you write this on your index card, or you put it on a sticky note, you put it on the mirror like I do with a chalk marker, make it a screensaver on your phone. The cool thing is you can take the affirmations, and you can go in Canva, and very easily you can make a really amazing picture that you can post in your wallpaper or your screensaver. And so do whatever helps you to create this in your life. To start with, now I don't know what the journal prompt is yet, but I will say that it would be really beneficial if you would look at the relationships that you have that maybe are not so positive, and kind of see how they treat you, and then really do some inner reflection and see how are you doing that to yourself, because they are a mirror of how you treat you. And the more you blame others for them being in your life, the more you're going to attract that into your life, because you're going to attract people that blame you for their lot in life. And it's a really interesting thing that we create when we do all of this, and learning to explore your life and your thoughts, because sometimes it can be very uncomfortable to take ownership of what's going on in your life. But do you want things to be comfortable, or do you want them to be better? So if you are looking for positive relationships and wanting to be a magnet for positive relationships, and maybe that doesn't feel like you right now, this is the beginning. Evaluate. And if you do have positive relationships and you feel like you are a magnet for positive relationships now, currently, then that means that your relationship with you is really good. However, I will say you have to keep growing that relationship with yourself, learning more, finding new ways to support yourself. And, in the group Make Lasting Change, what our daily task is to share our self care that we're doing, because everything begins with us. And so, whatever you can do that is self care, that just, oh, mwah, it is just changes your life tremendously. And I know a lot of people think self care, well, what's that got to do? That's just taking a bath, that's just sitting with a candle, but self care is so much more. And that's one of the things that we explore in the group, because one of the things that is amazing is the things that people are sharing that are self-care. We even had someone share that they had a game night with a bunch of people, and they played games, and that was their self-care. One person said that they will wear a tiara, and that just makes them feel like amazing royalty, and that self-care. So, what do you do that makes you feel amazing, and do that more? And make sure that you recognize that that is self care, whether it's sitting and watching a cat video so that you laugh and smile. What is your self care? And so, like I said, when you're looking at what you are attracting, the magnet that you are pulling into your life, if it's positive relationships, great, but keep growing, keep becoming more and more in tune to who you are and what you need and want. Keep growing, and then the relationships will stay, and you will attract even more relationships with friends, and that can actually mirror that in you, because you have something right now that's a positive relationship doesn't mean it will always be that way, unless you continue to grow within you, right? So I just want you to not be complacent. If you feel that right now you're a magnet for positive relationships, continue that personal growth, continue that self-care, and make that lasting change of being a magnet for positive relationships. All right, so now let's get to what the journal prompt is. Whoops, where is it at? All right. All right, so the journal prompt is: reflect on a positive relationship in your life and what makes it thrive. And that's an amazing thing. But like I said, one of the things is that it is so easy for us, or most of us, I will say the majority of people, to see the negative in things, because our brain is just wired to safety and comfort, right? And so we can see all the things that are wrong. And like when I work with my clients, a lot of times I will ask them, I'll say, so what went well this week? And they will tell me everything that didn't go well. And we have to kind of back up a little bit. Okay, that happened, but what went well? Let's talk about that first, and then we'll dive into the other things. And the reason I'm saying that is because if you'll sit down with a piece of paper, you will be able to really come up with a list of all the things, the negative relationships that you've had in your life. that one will be easy. Reflecting on positive relationships will take a little bit more effort, usually. Now, I'm not saying that's you. It may not be you. But if it is you, I implore you to go ahead and reflect on the not so positive relationships and look and see what the common thing is in them, and look and see if that you treat yourself the same way those people do. And that will be a light bulb moment for you where suddenly you will just understand that um, this is a mirror of how I talk to myself. It's a mirror of how I care for myself, the things that I choose to do in my life. It's a mirror. And so it's there to help us, to guide us to make the changes that we want to make. So I think that although this is a wonderful, wonderful journal prompt to reflect on the positive relationships in your life and what makes it thrive, do that. But also go and look at the not so good relationships and evaluate them. Really, really dive into what was it about that wasn't so good. And you'll begin to see some correlations with you. And I mean, it is a very enlightening process that will help you tremendously. And I would love to get some feedback from you guys if you go through this process to see what you come up with. And after having that live yesterday with Kathy and making the organization your new normal, I will say, I was always saying that to write in your journal or take a piece of paper and put it in a folder. But after talking to her, I realized that maybe writing on a piece of paper and putting in a folder may not be the best organization for you. So I would say you don't have to have a journal, but get a notebook, a spiral bound notebook, and put everything that we're doing in that spiral bound notebook. The only other thing I could suggest is, like, if you have a 3-ring binder. I was having to think, what the hell is it called? A 3-ring binder that you want to add your papers into. Do that instead of putting it in a folder, like I've been saying, because I realized that maybe that's not the most efficient way of keeping track. And on the outside of the notebook, write down that it is the affirmations and the journal prompts from Make Lasting Change, and keep track of it. And the reason that I like you to do that is because, for one thing, a lot of people use a digital journal, and that's great. However, writing things out with your hand actually connects the brain and your heart, and you can come up with more ideas. It's just a different pathway, a neural pathway that it creates that really helps do amazing things. And so writing it out is amazing. And plus, if you will put a date on each one of these things that you're doing, then you can go back and look in 3 months, 6 months, a year, it doesn't matter. You can go back and look at what is in the journal prompt and what the affirmation was. And you can answer the question again. You can answer what's like the journal prompt today is reflect on a positive relationship in your life and what makes it thrive. And I also said to put in there, what relationships have you had that weren't so good, and what's the common thread, and what can it teach you? So when you go back in 6 months and you look at that prompt, I am sure that you will be able to look at the relationships that you've had, and they won't be reflecting the exact same thing they were before. And hopefully, if you've been continuing this process of daily affirmations and journal prompts and changing who you are in your heart and in your mind, then the things that you see reflected in people around you will be so much better because you are so much better. And so I love going back and revisiting the old journal prompts and what was written and evaluating, holy smokes, how I have changed from that day to now. And I invite you to start that kind of process because you will be so glad you did. A lot of times we make those such small incremental changes that we don't even recognize anymore that we've done the changing, because if it's a small enough change, it's just like today is your new normal. You grow today, tomorrow that will be your new normal, and so on and so on and so on. It's not like if you take this leap, it will feel like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. But when you're doing it, these little steps every day, it just becomes who you are. And the only way you recognize how far you've come is if you have something that you can go back and look where you were. And so you have an amazing, amazing day. And I will be checking with Terry to make sure that everything's good for her to be going live tomorrow. And if so, I promise I will put a little thing on my screen that reminds me so that I don't end up going live at the same time that she does. And I apologize the times that I've done that, because I love doing this. And then I just get into my habit of I do this, I do this, I do this, and then I go live. And so I'm really, really working right now on breaking some of these habits that do serve me, but they also make me sometimes create things that I need to be doing something else. I don't know. Does that even make any sense? But anyway, I want to make sure that I'm not going live at the same time Terry is, because the stuff that she shares is amazing. And I want you guys to get the benefit of all her wonderful affirmations and her book, and just so much that I regret that several times I've gone live when she did as well. And so I will be reaching out to her and making sure. And so regardless, 9 a.m. tomorrow, Eastern Standard Time, somebody will be live for you. And if it's Terry, I'll promise you I will not go live at the same time. You have an amazing, blessed day, and go forward with reflecting on your relationships and becoming that magnet. What was it? A magnet for positive relationships. And just let your magnet pull them in. All right. You have a blessed day, like I said, and I will see you next time.